This story is 100% fiction. All elements are imaginary. Coincidences with reality are accidental. But 18. Entertainment only. The first thing Megan Sullivan noticed was the weight of an arm around her waist. The second was that the arm belonged to a man. The third, and most alarming, was that she was completely naked under sheets that probably cost more than her entire apartment. What the hell? She lay frozen, heart racing, trying to piece together the night before. She'd left work at the school, graded essays, had a cheap glass of wine while watching Pride and Prejudice for the 100th time, and nothing, absolutely nothing after that. The man behind her shifted, and Megan felt every muscle in her body tense. The arm pulled her closer, and she could feel the heat of him against her back, the defined chest, the slow breath against her neck. "Good morning, Red," the husky voice murmured in her ear. "Sleep well?" Megan reacted on instinct. Her elbow flew back with full force, hitting something solid. There was a grunt of pain, and she used the distraction to roll out of bed, pulling the sheet with her and nearly falling in the process. "Who the hell are you?" The man was sitting up now, one hand on his abdomen where she'd hit him, but there was no anger on his face. There was sadness, and he was absolutely devastating. Dark hair mussed from sleep, a jawline that could cut diamonds, eyes so dark blue they looked like a storm rolling in, a thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow, a tattooed chest with what looked like a family crest, and climbing up the side of his neck, a black rose, intricate and unmistakable, the petals seeming to move with each breath he took, the kind of man who showed up in sensible women's worst romantic nightmares. "Megan," he said, voice controlled, but something in it trembled. "Look at your left hand. Don't tell me what to do, you—" She looked anyway, and froze. A diamond ring sat on her finger. Not just any ring. An absurdly large piece surrounded by smaller rubies, clearly antique and probably illegally expensive. "What? I don't—" "My name is Roman Moretti," he said, rising slowly from the bed, apparently indifferent to his own nakedness. Megan looked away, cheeks burning. "I've been your husband for 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days. We have a 13-month-old son named Luca, and you had an accident 8 months ago that affected your memory." Megan shook her head, backing up until her shoulders hit the wall. "This is insane. I'm not married. I would remember being married." "You remember everything up until April 2022, Roman said, picking up a robe from a chair and tying it around his waist. "Finally. Your last consolidated memory is grading literature essays while watching that terrible Darcy movie. Pride and Prejudice isn't terrible." She started automatically, then stopped. "How do you know that?" "Because you tell me every day." He approached slowly, like someone approaching a frightened animal. "Just like I tell you every day about us, about how we met, about our wedding, about our son." "I have a son?" The word came out strangled, and Megan felt her legs weaken. Roman was at her side in a second, catching her before she could fall, and even in her panic she noticed how his arms wrapped around her with a familiarity that made no sense. "Breathe, Red," he murmured. "I've got you. I always have you." 20 minutes later, Megan was sitting in an absurdly comfortable armchair in a closet bigger than her apartment, wearing a silk robe that probably cost a month's rent, watching a tablet her supposed husband had placed in her hands. "This is me?" she asked, looking at the woman in the video. It was clearly her. Same red hair, same freckles, same green eyes. But this version of her was in a wedding dress, laughing while a tuxedoed Roman spun her on a dance floor. "Stop looking at me like that," Video Megan was saying, cheeks flushed. "Like what? Like I'm the only thing that matters in the world." "But you are." Megan paused the video, her heart tight in a way she couldn't explain. "I record everything," Roman said. He was leaning against the doorframe, keeping his distance, giving her space. "Every important moment, every first, every memory you won't be able to keep. I have 3 years of us in these files." "Why?" "Because you're my wife." He said it like it was the most obvious answer in the world. "And because every morning, when you wake up not knowing who I am, I need you to see, to understand, that what we have is real, even if you can't remember." Megan swallowed hard. "That must be," she started, not knowing how to finish. "Exhausting? Devastating? Impossible? You're worth every second." Before she could respond, a sound cut through the silence. A baby crying. Megan stood instinctively, her body responding before her mind could process, and Roman smiled, the first real smile since she'd woken up. Your body remembers him, he said softly, even when your mind can't. The nursery was fit for a palace. Megan stopped in the doorway, heart in her throat, staring at the baby in the crib. He had dark hair like his father, but when he opened his eyes and saw her, green, her eyes. Luca, she whispered, and the name came out like a prayer. The baby reached his arms toward her, a gummy smile lighting up his little face, and Megan didn't think. She crossed the room and picked him up, and when his weight settled against her chest, something inside her broke and rebuilt itself at the same time. "Hi, sweetheart," she murmured, tears falling without permission. "I don't remember you, but I feel you. Does that make sense?" Luca responded by grabbing a strand of her red hair and putting it in his mouth. "He does that every day too," Roman said from the doorway, his voice rough. "You're his favorite thing in the world." Megan looked at the man who claimed to be her husband, at the baby in her arms, at the life she had apparently built and couldn't remember. "Tell me," she asked, "how did we meet?" Roman entered the room, settling into the nursing chair like he did this every morning. He probably did. "You were in a bookstore in Boston. I was running from men who wanted to kill me." Megan blinked. "That's an interesting way to start a love story. I'm an interesting man. You're a criminal. I'm the Don of the Moretti family," he said without hesitation, without apology. "The second most powerful organization on the East Coast. I control 3 states, have more blood on my hands than you could possibly imagine, and the only law I follow is my own." Megan should have been horrified, should have been calling the police, should have been running. Instead, she heard herself ask, "And I married you knowing all of this? You said," and I quote, "Roman Moretti, I don't give a damn who you are out there. In here, you're just the idiot who organizes books in the wrong order and cries watching Pixar movies. Now shut up and propose to me properly." Megan let out a surprised laugh. "That really does sound like something I'd say. You have no filter." Roman tilted his head, his eyes tracing her face like he was memorizing every detail. "It's one of the things I love most about you. You cry at Pixar movies? Up destroys me every time, and you have no proof." "I probably do. Somewhere in all those videos of yours." "You definitely do." He smiled, and it was like watching the sun rise. "And you use it as blackmail regularly." Megan wanted to argue, but she had an uncomfortable feeling he was right. Roman extended his hand. Megan stared at it for a long moment. The hand of a criminal, of a killer, of a man she didn't remember but apparently loved enough to marry. She adjusted Luca on her hip and placed her hand in his. "Show me the kitchen then, Don Moretti," she said. "And I hope you have decent coffee because I don't trust millionaires who drink decaf." Roman laughed, a low, husky sound that did something strange to her stomach. 3 years, he said, and you still insult me the same way. Some loves really are eternal." That wasn't a compliment. To me it was. The kitchen was professional, immaculate, and occupied by a woman in her 60s who looked at Megan with a mixture of affection and assessment that made her feel like she was being judged by a queen. "Good morning, Mrs. Moretti," the woman said. "The usual?" Megan opened her mouth to say she didn't know what the usual was, but Roman interrupted. "Pancakes, scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, black coffee with a spoonful of honey, orange juice for Luca." The woman nodded and started working. "She is," Megan whispered. "Helena, family cook for 30 years, she adores you. She looked at me like she was deciding where to bury my body. That is how she shows affection." Megan sat on the counter stool, Luca in her lap, watching Helena work with brutal efficiency. The kitchen smelled of coffee and bacon, and it was strangely normal. She was in a Mafia boss's mansion with anterograde amnesia, holding a son she didn't remember having, married to a man who admitted to killing people, and all she felt was that she belonged there. "This is very strange," she said aloud. "What?" "Everything. Nothing. The fact that I should be freaking out and instead I'm thinking about how much I want those pancakes." Roman sat beside her, his shoulders relaxing in a way that suggested he'd been tense since she woke up. "Your body remembers home," he said, "even when your mind can't. You told me that once in the first days after the accident, that it was like recognizing a song when you don't know the lyrics." Megan stared at him. "That's poetic. I have my moments." Helena placed a plate in front of her, the most perfect pancakes Megan had ever seen, and another with a simple omelet in front of Roman. "Thank you, Helena," Megan said automatically. The woman paused, something softening in her face. "You always say that," she murmured. "Every day. The same way." And then she was gone. leaving Megan with the strange feeling that she'd passed a test she didn't know she was taking. They ate in comfortable silence, another impossibility, while Luca made a glorious mess with pieces of pancake Roman cut for him. "You're good with him," Megan observed. "Had to learn fast." Roman wiped his son's face with a naturalness that spoke of practice. "After the accident, you struggled. Those first months, waking up pregnant was a shock. Waking up with a newborn was worse." Megan felt her heart clench. "I didn't remember I was pregnant." "Your last memory is from before you met me," he reminded her gently. "To you it was April 2022. You were 28, single, living alone in Boston. Suddenly you were waking up in a mansion, married, with a 5-month-old baby. My God, you had to learn to be a mother every day." Roman looked at her, and there was so much in that look that Megan almost turned away. "And you did. You do. Every single day you wake up not remembering him, and the moment you see him, you love him." "He's my son," Megan said, as if that explained everything. "Exactly," Roman smiled. "Some loves don't need memory." Megan looked at Luca, at the eyes that were hers, at the smile that melted something inside her chest, and understood. She didn't need to remember carrying him for 9 months, didn't need to remember the sleepless nights, the first steps, the first words. She just needed to look at him and know. "What about you?" she asked, turning to Roman. "Do you also not need memory?" "That," he said, "you'll have to figure out for yourself." "That's unfair. It's incentive." He finished his coffee and stood. "I have a meeting in an hour. Family business." "Are you going to kill someone?" "Probably not today." He said it so casually that Megan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Marco will stay with you, my right-hand man. You like him, even though you pretend you don't." "Why would I pretend?" "Because he beat you at poker once and you hold grudges professionally." Megan wanted to argue, but she had an uncomfortable feeling he was right. Roman leaned in, hesitating for a moment before kissing her forehead again. "Watch the videos," he said. "Read your own notes. And when I get back, if you have questions, ask me. I'll have thousands. I have answers for all of them." He was almost at the door when Megan called out, "Roman?" He stopped, looking over his shoulder. "Why haven't you given up?" she asked. 8 months of waking up with a stranger, why are you still here?" Roman looked at her for a long moment. "Because every morning," he said, "when you look at me for the first time, you don't see the dawn. You don't see the monster everyone thinks I am. You see a stranger, and then throughout the day you choose to stay. Not out of obligation, not out of fear. You simply choose to get to know me. Every day I win you again. Every day you choose me." He smiled, but there was something broken in it. "It's the most beautiful and most devastating thing I've ever experienced, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." And then he was gone, leaving Megan with cold pancakes, a food-covered baby, and the absolute certainty that she had married someone extraordinary. She just had to figure out how. 2 hours later, Megan had watched 17 videos, cried 4 times, and read 15 notes written by herself. The most recent one said, "To the Megan who will wake up tomorrow. Yes, you're married. Yes, he's in the Mafia. Yes, you have a son. No, you didn't freak out and agree to this. You fell in love. Madly. Stupidly. The kind you always said only happened in books. Roman will give you space, he always does, but when you're ready, ask about the bookstore. Ask how he proposed. Ask why he has a tattoo of your name over his heart. And stop crying at the wedding videos. You do it every day and it's pathetic. With love. Because I am you and you love yourself finally. Yesterday's Megan P.S. Yes, the neck tattoo is hot. Stop pretending it isn't." Megan laughed and cried at the same time. "Pathetic indeed," she murmured, wiping her eyes. Luca, who was on the activity mat surrounded by toys, looked at her and smiled. "You agree, don't you?" she said to him. "Your mom's a mess." The baby clapped his hands, as if he completely approved. And then the door to the office she was in opened, and a man who was not Roman walked in. Tall, blonde, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Hello, sister-in-law," he said. "Miss me?" Megan didn't know who he was, but every fiber of her body screamed danger. Megan's arms tightened around Luca instinctively. The man in the doorway was handsome in a cold, calculated way, like a marble statue that someone had forgotten to give warmth. His blonde hair was slicked back. His suit probably cost more than her old car, and his smile made her skin crawl. "You don't remember me," he said, stepping inside. "Of course you don't. That's the whole point, isn't it? Who are you?" "Damian Moretti." He spread his arms like he was presenting a gift. Roman's younger brother. Your brother-in-law. The fun one at family dinners. Megan stood slowly, positioning Luca against her hip, her body angling toward the door. Roman didn't mention you. Roman doesn't mention a lot of things. Damien's eyes dropped to the baby, and something flickered there. Something Megan didn't like. Hello, nephew. Getting big, aren't you? Luca buried his face in Megan's neck, whimpering. Smart kid. What do you want? Megan asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Just checking on my favorite sister-in-law. He moved closer, and Megan moved back. You know, it's fascinating. Every day you wake up fresh. No memories of arguments, no grudges, like a reset button. That sounds less like concern and more like observation. Damien laughed. A sharp, unpleasant sound. Roman always said you were clever. Even without your memories, that tongue stays sharp. He tilted his head, studying her. Do you know what I find interesting? The accident happened 8 months ago. 8 months and my brother still hasn't found who did it. Megan's blood ran cold. What are you implying? Nothing at all. His smile widened. Just that Roman controls 3 states, has an army at his disposal, and somehow can't find the person who hurt his precious wife. Strange, don't you think? Before Megan could respond, a new voice cut through the room. Step away from her. Now. A man stood in the doorway, dark-skinned, built like a linebacker with eyes that promised violence. He wore a shoulder holster openly, hand resting on the gun. Marco, Damien said smoothly. Always so dramatic. And you're always somewhere you shouldn't be. Marco didn't move, but something in his stance shifted. A predator ready to strike. The boss know you're here? I don't need my brother's permission to visit family. You need his permission to breathe in this house. Marco's voice dropped. Walk. Now. For a moment, tension crackled between them. Then Damien shrugged, adjusting his cuffs like they'd been discussing the weather. We'll talk later, Megan, he said, heading for the door. When there are fewer interruptions. He paused beside Marco, leaning close. She really doesn't remember anything, does she? How convenient. And then he was gone. Marco waited a full minute before his shoulders relaxed. You okay, Mrs. M? Megan let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Luca was still clinging to her, trembling slightly. Who the hell was that? Damien Moretti, Roman's half-brother. Marco's jaw tightened. Bad blood. Worse intentions. He seemed to be implying something about my accident. Marco met her eyes and she saw the answer there. The one he wouldn't say out loud. You think he did it, she whispered. I think you should ask Roman. He gestured toward the door. Come on. Let's get you somewhere more secure and maybe don't wander the house alone for a while. I wasn't wandering, I was... With respect, ma'am, this is a conversation you have with me every day. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. And every day, you promise to stay put. And every day you don't. Megan found herself almost smiling back. I sound exhausting. You sound like exactly what the boss needs. Marco started walking. Someone who doesn't follow his orders. The secure room turned out to be a home theater with reinforced doors, a panic button, and enough snacks to survive an apocalypse. Roman designed this after the accident, Marco explained, settling into a chair near the door. Said you needed somewhere you could feel safe while he was gone. Megan looked around. At the massive screen, the plush couches, the mini fridge stocked with what she somehow knew was her favorite sparkling water. He thinks of everything. He thinks of you. Marco shrugged. Everything else is just details. She sat on the couch, Luca finally calm enough to play with a stuffed elephant. Her mind was racing. Marco, can I ask you something? Always. Damien said Roman hasn't found who attacked me in 8 months, is that true? Marco was quiet for a long moment. The boss has... suspects, he said carefully. But proof is different. And Roman doesn't move without proof. Not when it's family. Even if family tried to kill me? Especially then. Marco leaned forward. You gotta understand, Mrs. M. In this world, family is everything. Accusing a brother of attempted murder, that's not just personal. That's war. And war means bodies. Lots of them. Megan processed this. So Roman suspects Damien but can't act because it would start a war. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Marco almost smiled again. Like I said, you're exactly what he needs. Roman returned 3 hours later, still in his dark suit. But something was different. There was blood on his cuff. Just a spot. Barely visible. He caught her looking and tucked his hand in his pocket. Damien was here, Marco reported before anyone else could speak. Roman's entire demeanor changed. The warmth she'd seen that morning vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal. Where? The office. With her and Luca, alone. Roman turned to Megan, crossing the room in 3 strides, his hands cupping her face before she could react. "Did he touch you? Did he say anything? Are you—" "I'm fine," she interrupted. "Roman, I'm fine." But he wasn't listening. His eyes were scanning her face, her arms, checking for damage that wasn't there. And when his gaze finally met hers, she saw something that made her breath catch. Fear. Not of anything external. Fear for her. "I'm going to kill him," Roman said quietly. "I'm going to tear him apart with my bare hands. You don't have proof." He stilled. "What?" "Marco told me. You suspect Damien, but you can't move without proof." Megan held his gaze. "That's why you haven't found who hurt me. Because you already know. But you can't act." Roman's jaw clenched. "Marco talks too much. Marco was protecting me while you were gone." She reached up, her hands covering his where they still held her face. "Roman, what really happened 8 months ago?" He closed his eyes. "Not here. Not with—" He glanced at Marco, at Luca. "Later, when we're alone, I'll tell you everything. Promise?" "I promise." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm sorry. I should have been here. I should have—" "You can't be everywhere. I can try." Megan surprised herself by laughing. "That's either incredibly romantic or incredibly controlling. Probably both." He pulled back and a hint of the morning's warmth returned to his eyes. "Are you hungry? You just came home with blood on your sleeve and you're asking if I'm hungry? The blood isn't mine and you get cranky when you skip meals." Megan stared at him. "You're insane. You married me. Apparently under duress. Apparently by choice." He took Luca from her arms, the baby immediately grabbing for the black rose tattoo on his neck. "Helena made lasagna. Your favorite. Every Tuesday." "Today is Tuesday? Every day is a new day for you, Red." He smiled, and it was sad and beautiful at once. "I try to make them all good ones." Later that night, after lasagna and laughter and watching Luca take wobbly steps across the living room, Roman finally led her to their bedroom. "I promised you answers," he said, closing the door. "Ask." Megan sat on the bed, pulling her legs up. "Did Damien try to kill me?" "Yes." No hesitation, no softening. "I can't prove it," Roman continued. "But I know. The mechanic who cut your brakes disappeared the same night, found in the river 3 days later. The only person who would benefit from hurting you to hurt me is Damien. Why? Because I'm the Don, and he's not." Roman sat beside her, the bed dipping with his weight. "Because our father chose me, and Damien has never forgiven it. Because destroying you would destroy me, and he knows it." Megan absorbed this. "So every day I wake up and the man who tried to kill me is walking free. For now." Roman's eyes darkened. "I'm building a case, gathering evidence. When I move, it will be absolute. He won't survive it. And until then? Until then, I protect you. Every day, every morning you forget. Every night you sleep in my arms not knowing who I am." He reached out, tucking a strand of red hair behind her ear. "That's my job, my purpose, keeping you safe until I can end this." Megan looked at this man, this killer, this Don, this stranger who loved her with an intensity that should have been terrifying. "Roman? Yes? I think I understand why I married you." His breath caught. "You do? You're absolutely insane." She smiled. "And apparently so am I." Roman laughed. Surprised, genuine, beautiful. "Is that a compliment? From me?" "Probably." He leaned forward, stopping just inches from her lips. "Can I kiss you?" Her heart slammed against her ribs. "I don't remember kissing you before." "Then let me remind you." And when his lips met hers, soft, reverent, burning, Megan understood what her notes meant. Some loves don't need memory. Some loves are written in the soul. Megan woke up alone. The bed was cold on the other side, but there was a note on the pillow. Handwritten, elegant script. "Good morning, Red. Before you panic, you're married to me, Roman. We have a son, Luca, and you have memory issues from an accident. There's a tablet on the nightstand. Watch the first video. I'll be back before breakfast. R." She stared at the note for a long moment. Then she grabbed the tablet. The first video was Roman, sitting in this exact bedroom looking directly at the camera. "Hey, beautiful. If you're watching this, you just woke up confused. That's okay. It happens every morning. Here's what you need to know. I love you. Luca loves you. You're safe. Everything else, we figure out together." He smiled. That devastating smile she apparently fell for. "There's a folder called Watch These First on the home screen. Start there. And Megan, Don't hit me with your elbow this time. I still have the bruise from yesterday. The video ended. Megan looked at her elbow, then at the empty bed. Sorry about that, she murmured to no one. 2 hours and 12 videos later, she understood. She understood how they met. Roman bleeding in a bookstore, her hiding him behind the poetry section because no one ever checks poetry. She understood how he proposed, in that same bookstore, 3 months later, with a first edition of Pride and Prejudice that had the ring hidden inside the cover. She understood why she said yes, because he looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. And she understood from a video she'd recorded herself why she stayed. Future Megan, her past self said, mascara smudged from crying. I know this is terrifying. I know you're scared. But watch how he looks at you. Watch how he holds Luca. Watch how he waits, every single morning, for you to choose him again. That's not obsession. That's devotion. And you, we, deserve to be loved like that. Megan wiped her eyes. Damn it. Past me, she whispered. You could have warned me about the crying. She found Roman in the nursery, Luca in his arms. He was singing. Megan stopped in the doorway, frozen, watching this lethal man sway gently with their son, his deep voice humming a lullaby she almost recognized. Luca was asleep, tiny fingers curled around the collar of Roman's shirt. You're staring, Roman said without turning around. You're singing. Luca likes it. He carefully placed the baby in the crib. He has terrible taste in music, but we don't judge. What song was that? Something my mother used to sing. Roman turned and his eyes softened when he saw her tear-stained face. You watched the videos. I watch them every day, apparently. And you cry every day. He crossed to her, thumbs brushing her cheeks. I keep telling you to skip the wedding footage. I don't listen. You never do. He smiled. It's one of my favorite things about you. Breakfast was interrupted by a phone call. Roman's expression shifted the moment he saw the screen. Warmth replaced by ice. What? He answered. Megan watched his jaw clench, his free hand curling into a fist on the table. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He hung up and stood abruptly. What happened? Megan asked. Business. But he wasn't looking at her. He was looking at Marco, who had appeared in the doorway. The warehouse on 5th. Someone hit it last night. Damien? Marco asked. Unknown. But the timing is convenient. Roman finally looked at Megan. I have to go. Marco stays. You don't leave the house. Roman, please. The word cracked slightly. Just this once, don't argue. Megan saw the fear beneath the command. The same fear she'd seen yesterday. Fear for her. Okay, she said quietly. He blinked, clearly surprised. Okay, I trust you. She didn't know where the words came from, but they felt true. Go do what you need to do. We'll be here. Roman crossed back to her in 2 strides, kissing her hard. I'll be back, he promised against her lips. I always come back to you. He'd been gone an hour when the doorbell rang. Megan looked at Marco, who was already on his feet, hand on his weapon. Stay here, he ordered, moving toward the front. Megan naturally followed. The woman at the door was stunning. Silver hair despite looking barely 50, sharp cheekbones, and eyes that matched Roman's exactly. Marco, the woman said coolly. Stand down, I'm hardly a threat. Mrs. Moretti. Marco holstered his gun but didn't relax. The boss didn't mention you were coming. The boss doesn't control my schedule. Her eyes found Megan. Ah, there she is. The wife who doesn't remember. Megan straightened. And you are? Vittoria Moretti. The woman swept inside without invitation. Roman's mother, your mother-in-law. The woman who decides if you're worthy of my son. Megan felt Marco tense beside her. With respect, she said. I'm pretty sure Roman already decided that. Vittoria's eyebrow arched. She has fire. Good. You'll need it. Tea was served in the formal living room, a room Megan hadn't even known existed. Vittoria sat like a queen, her posture perfect, her gaze dissecting everything. So, she said, you don't remember me? I don't remember anyone past April 2022. How convenient. Megan set down her cup. I'm sorry. Did my traumatic brain injury inconvenience you? Marco made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. Vittoria's lips twitched. Definitely fire. She leaned forward. Let me be clear, Megan. I didn't approve of you when Roman brought you home. A school teacher from Boston with no family connections, no money, no power. But you made my son happy. You gave me a grandson. And now someone is trying to destroy both. Damien. Vittoria's expression flickered. You know. I figured it out. Or I figure it out every day and forget. Megan shrugged. Either way, I know. Then you know why I'm here. Vittoria reached into her purse, pulling out a small flash drive. This is everything I've gathered on Damien's movements for the past year. Bank accounts, meetings, contacts. Roman won't act without proof. This is proof. Megan stared at the drive. You're giving this to me? I'm giving this to you because Roman won't take it from me. He thinks I'm protecting Damien because he's my stepson. Her voice hardened. But Damien tried to kill you. He tried to take my grandson's mother. That makes him my enemy. Why not give it to Marco? Because Marco is loyal to Roman, and Roman will hesitate. Vittoria pressed the drive into Megan's palm. But you'll do what needs to be done. I saw it the first day you walked into this house. You're not afraid of this world. You're angry at it. Megan looked at the drive. What do you want me to do? Watch it, remember it, or write it down since you can't remember. Vittoria stood. And when Roman hesitates again, remind him what's at stake. She was at the door when Megan called out. Vittoria? The woman paused. Why do you really trust me with this? Vittoria looked over her shoulder, and for a moment, the ice in her eyes melted. Because every morning, you choose my son. Without memories, without obligation, without knowing anything about this life, you still choose him. She smiled, small and sad. Anyone who loves like that deserves the truth. That night, Megan watched the flash drive's contents alone. Bank transfers to a known hitman. Photos of Damien meeting with Moretti enemies. A recorded conversation where he laughed about the redhead's accident. She won't remember anyway, Damien's voice said on the recording. Every day is a fresh start. Every day she forgets what Roman is, what we all are. Maybe next time I'll finish the job. Megan's hands were shaking when Roman found her. Megan? What? He saw the screen. Saw the frozen image of his brother. Where did you get this? Your mother. Roman went very still. She gave you this? She said you wouldn't take it from her. That you'd hesitate. Megan looked up at him. Will you? He stared at the screen for a long moment. Then, no. What are you going to do? Roman's eyes met hers, and she saw the Don. Not the husband, not the father, but the man who controlled 3 states and had blood on his hands. I'm going to end it, he said quietly. Tomorrow, Damien faces the family council, and then he faces me. Will you kill him? Do you want me to? Megan thought about waking up every day not knowing, about Luca growing up with a target on his back, about the recording, the laughter, the promise to finish the job. I want us to be safe, she said finally. Whatever that takes. Roman knelt before her, taking her hands. Then we will be. He kissed her knuckles. I swear it. Megan woke up to chaos. Not the usual confusion of not knowing where she was. Roman had left the tablet playing automatically, his face filling the screen before she could panic. Morning, Red. Big day. Don't freak out. Read the note. The note was longer than usual. Today is the council meeting. Damien faces judgment. You asked to be there. Yes, you did. Don't argue with past you. Marco will bring you when it's time. I love you. Whatever happens today, remember that. R. P.S. Wear the red dress. You said it makes you feel powerful. You're going to need it. Megan stared at the note. Then she went to find the red dress. The dress was devastating. Deep crimson, fitted perfectly, with a neckline that meant business, and a cut that said she belonged in rooms full of dangerous men. Helena appeared while she was staring at her reflection. You wear that every time you need armor, the older woman said, something like approval in her voice. The first time was your wedding rehearsal dinner. You told Roman's uncle to go to hell in that dress. I did? He questioned whether a schoolteacher could handle this life. Helena smiled. Rare. Precious. You told him you'd survive teenagers. Mobsters would be a vacation. Megan laughed despite herself. That does sound like me. You're stronger than you remember, Mrs. Moretti. Helena handed her a small velvet box. The boss asked me to give you this. Inside was a ruby necklace, elegant, blood red, clearly matching her wedding ring, and a note in Roman's handwriting. Every queen needs a crown. Marco drove her to a building downtown, all glass and steel on the outside, but inside it felt like stepping into another century. Dark wood paneling, portraits of stern-faced men, a long table surrounded by chairs, most already occupied by people who looked at Megan like she was either prey or a puzzle. Roman stood at the head of the table, and when he saw her, everything else in the room disappeared. He crossed to her in 3 strides. You came. Apparently I insisted. You did. His hand found her waist, pulling her close. You said, and I quote, "If that bastard is going down, I want a front row seat. I have a way with words. You have a way with everything." He kissed her forehead, then turned to face the room, keeping her at his side. "Let's begin." The council was terrifying. 12 men and 3 women, all with the same cold calculation in their eyes. Family heads, Roman had explained. The people who controlled everything from the ports to the police. And at the far end of the table, hands bound to his chair, sat Damien. He looked different today, less polished, more desperate. There was a bruise forming on his jaw and his expensive suit was wrinkled. "Roman," he said, his voice cracking. "This is insane. I'm your brother. Half-brother." Roman's voice was ice. "And you tried to kill my wife." "I didn't." "Don't." The single word silenced the room. "I have bank records, photos, and a recording where you laugh about her accident and promise to finish the job." Damien's face went pale. That's taken out of context." "Play it," Roman ordered. Marco pressed a button and Damien's voice filled the room. Laughing, casual, planning murder like it was a dinner reservation. "She won't remember anyway. Every day is a fresh start. Maybe next time I'll finish the job." The council members shifted. Megan saw disgust on some faces, calculation on others. "This is a violation of our most sacred law," Roman continued. "Family is untouchable. Wives are untouchable. Children are untouchable." Damien broke all 3. "She's not family," Damien shouted, desperation cracking his composure. "She's some nobody you picked up in a bookstore. She doesn't belong here." Megan felt Roman tense beside her, but before he could respond, she stepped forward. "You're right." The room went silent. "I'm a nobody," Megan continued, her voice steady. "I was a school teacher from Boston. I had a tiny apartment, a cat named Mr. Darcy, and a collection of books that was probably worth more than my car. I didn't belong in this world." She walked toward Damien, heels clicking on the hardwood. "But your brother chose me anyway. He fell in love with me. The nobody, the outsider, the woman who yells at him for organizing books wrong and makes him watch romantic comedies." She stopped in front of him. "And you tried to kill me for it." Damien's jaw clenched. "You don't understand this world." "I understand enough." Megan leaned closer. "I understand that every morning I wake up not knowing my own son's face. I understand that I have to fall in love with my husband again and again, because you took my memories. I understand that my child will grow up knowing someone tried to murder his mother." Her voice dropped. "And I understand that in this world actions have consequences." She turned back to the council. "I'm not asking for mercy. I'm not asking for cruelty. I'm asking for justice." She looked at Roman. "Whatever that means in your world." The room was silent for a long moment. Then Vittoria stood. "I call for a vote," she said, her voice carrying. "All in favor of finding Damien Moretti guilty of attempted murder against a protected family member." One by one, hands rose. 12 guilty. 3 abstained. None innocent. Damien made a sound. Something between a laugh and a sob. "So that's it? My own family condemns me?" "You condemned yourself," Roman said quietly. "The moment you touched what was mine." The council cleared quickly after that. Megan stood by the window watching the city below, trying to process what had just happened. "You were magnificent." She turned. Roman was behind her, his expression unreadable. "I don't feel magnificent, I feel—" She searched for the word. "I don't know what I feel. That's normal." He moved closer. "The first time you saw this side of our life, you threw up in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Romantic. You came out, looked me in the eye, and said, 'If I'm going to be a mob wife, I need better shoes for running.'" He smiled slightly. "I bought you 12 pairs the next day." Megan almost laughed. "What happens to Damien now?" Roman's smile faded. "He has 24 hours to leave the country. If he's still on American soil after that, he forfeits his life. Exile? Not." She couldn't finish. "Death would have been cleaner," Roman admitted. "But exile is worse. He loses everything. Money, power, name. He becomes no one. In our world, that's a fate worse than dying. Will he leave? He's a coward at heart. He'll run." Roman's jaw tightened. "But if he doesn't, if he tries anything else, I won't hesitate again." Megan nodded slowly. Okay. I trust you." The words came easier now. "I don't know why. I've known you for less than a day, technically, but I trust you." Roman's hand cupped her face. "You've trusted me every day for 3 years," he said softly. "Every morning you choose to trust a stranger. Do you know how extraordinary that is?" "I'm starting to understand." They were almost home when Marco's phone rang. Megan watched his face change, saw the blood drain from his dark skin. "Boss," he said, his voice strange. "It's the house." Roman went rigid. "What about it?" "Security breach. Someone got inside." Marco met Roman's eyes in the rearview mirror. Helena hit the panic button. Then the line went dead. For one terrible second, the world stopped. Then Roman moved. "Luca," he breathed. "Drive. Now." The house was too quiet when they arrived. Roman had a gun in his hand before the car fully stopped. Marco flanked him, equally armed. "Stay in the car," Roman ordered. "Like hell. Megan, our son is in there." Her voice didn't waver. "I'm coming." Something flickered in his eyes. Fear, pride, love, all tangled together. "Stay behind me. No matter what." They entered through the side door, moving silently through halls Megan didn't remember but somehow knew. The living room was destroyed. Furniture overturned, glass shattered, bullet holes in the wall, and Helena was on the floor. "Oh, God." Megan rushed forward, but Roman caught her arm. "Marco, check her." Marco knelt, fingers finding Helena's neck. Alive, unconscious, hit on the head. Relief crashed through Megan, but only for a second. Because Luca wasn't there. "The nursery," she whispered. They ran. The nursery door was open. Inside, the crib was empty. The window was broken. And written on the wall, in what looked horribly like blood, were 4 words: "She remembers nothing." Megan's legs gave out. Roman caught her before she hit the ground, but she could barely feel his arms around her. All she could see was the empty crib, the broken window, the message. "Damien," she breathed. "He took him. He took our son." Roman's face was carved from stone. Not for long. His phone was in his hand, his voice cold and commanding. "Every man we have, every contact, every favor owed. Find my brother. Find my son." A pause. "And Marco? No more mercy. No more exile. When we find Damien, he dies." He hung up and looked at Megan. At the woman who didn't remember their wedding, their first kiss, their son's first steps. "I will bring him home," he swore. "I will burn this city to the ground if I have to, but I will bring our son home." Megan looked at the empty crib, and something inside her, something deeper than memory, ignited. "No," she said quietly. "What?" "Not you." She stood, legs shaking but holding. "We will bring him home. Together." Roman stared at her. "You don't remember how to—" "I don't need to remember." She met his eyes, and there was fire in her gaze. "I'm his mother, and nobody takes my child." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Roman nodded, something like awe in his expression. Together then. Together. 3 hours. Luca had been gone for 3 hours, and Megan was slowly losing her mind. The house had transformed into a war room. Men she didn't recognize moved through halls with purpose, phones pressed to ears, laptops open on every surface. Roman stood at the center of it all, issuing orders with deadly calm. But Megan saw his hands. They were shaking. "We've tracked Damien's phone to the docks," Marco reported, pointing at a map spread across the dining table. "But it's probably a decoy. He's not stupid enough to keep it on him." "He's stupid enough to take my son," Roman said flatly. "Don't overestimate him. There's something else." Marco hesitated. "Vittoria is here." Roman's jaw clenched. "I don't have time for—" "Let her in," Megan interrupted. Both men turned to her. "She gave us the evidence," Megan continued. "She wanted Damien gone. She might know where he'd run." Roman studied her for a long moment, then nodded at Marco. Vittoria swept in like a thunderstorm, all sharp edges and barely contained fury. "I should have killed him myself," she said without preamble. "Years ago, when he first showed what he was, I should have ended it." "Regret later," Roman said coldly. "Information now. Where would he go? He has contacts in Jersey. A woman he's been seeing, Carla something. She has a warehouse near the port. We checked the ports, not the private ones." Vittoria pulled out her phone, showing an address. "Damien's father, my late husband's first wife's brother, owns a shipping company. Off the books. Perfect for disappearing." Roman was already moving. "Marco, get me everything on this address. I want blueprints, entry points, security." "I'm coming with you." Everyone stopped. Megan stood, chin raised, eyes blazing. "Absolutely not," Roman said. "He took our son to hurt me, to prove I'm weak, that I don't belong." She stepped closer. "I'm done letting him be right. This isn't about proving anything. This is about keeping you safe." "Safe?" Megan laughed. Sharp, bitter. "I wake up every day not knowing my own life. I have a son I can't remember holding for the first time, and now he's gone, taken by someone who wants me to suffer. There is no safe, Roman. There's only fighting or losing. Vittoria made a sound of approval. She's right. Mother. No, listen. Vittoria crossed to Megan, studying her face. Damien expects you to hide, to cower, to let Roman handle everything while you fall apart. That's his weakness. He underestimates women, always has. She turned to Roman. Use that. Use her. The plan was insane. Megan would approach the warehouse alone, unarmed, vulnerable, everything Damien expected her to be. He wants to gloat, Vittoria had explained. He wants to see the fear in your eyes. Give him that, and he'll let his guard down. And then? Megan had asked. Then my son puts a bullet in his head. Roman had argued, threatened, nearly put his fist through a wall. But in the end, he'd agreed, because there was no other way. If anything happens to you, he said now, standing with her outside the warehouse, I will never forgive myself. Then make sure nothing happens. Megan, Roman. She took his face in her hands. I don't remember our first date. I don't remember our wedding vows. I don't remember Luca's first smile. But I know that I love you, both of you, and I will walk through fire to bring our son home. His forehead pressed against hers. Every day, he whispered. Every single day you make me fall in love with you again. Apparently it's a talent. He almost laughed. When this is over, I'm locking you in a room and never letting you out. That's either romantic or a felony. Probably both. She kissed him, hard, desperate, a promise and a prayer. Then she walked toward the warehouse. The inside was dark, cold, and smelled like rust and seawater. Megan's heels echoed as she walked, every instinct screaming at her to run. But she kept moving, following the dim light at the far end. And there, in a circle of bare bulbs, sat Damien. Luca was in his arms. Ah, there she is. Damien smiled. That terrible, empty smile. The wife who forgets. I was wondering if you'd come. Megan's heart stopped at the sight of her son. Luca was crying softly, his face red and tear-streaked, reaching toward her with tiny hands. Let him go, she said, her voice remarkably steady. This is between us. Between us? Damien laughed. This was never about you, sweetheart. This is about Roman, about what he took from me. The family, the power, the respect, all of it should have been mine. So you hurt a child? Your own nephew? Collateral damage. He shrugged. Don't worry. I'm not going to kill him. He's my ticket out of here. Once I'm safely across the border, I'll let Roman know where to find him. And me? Damien's eyes glittered. You? I'm still deciding about. He stood, still holding Luca, and walked toward her slowly. You know what fascinates me, he said. You don't remember anything. Every day you wake up fresh, no trauma, no fear. You should be thanking me, really. I gave you a gift. You gave me a nightmare. Same thing. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive. Wrong. Here's what I don't understand. Every morning you could choose to leave, to walk away from this life. But you don't. Why? Megan looked at Luca, at his tear-stained face, his reaching hands, his green eyes that were so much like hers. Because some things don't need memory, she said softly. Some things are written deeper. Damien snorted. How poetic. Roman teach you that? No, she smiled. I taught him. And then she did something Damien didn't expect. She screamed. The sound was piercing, echoing through the warehouse. And it was the signal. Glass shattered. Doors burst open. Roman's men poured in from every direction, weapons raised, shouting commands. Damien spun, clutching Luca tighter, his face twisting with rage. You bitch. Wrong move. Roman emerged from the shadows, gun trained directly at his brother's head. His voice was ice. His eyes were death. Put him down. You won't shoot me. Not while I'm holding him. Watch me. The standoff lasted an eternity, or maybe just seconds. Megan couldn't tell. Then Luca did something unexpected. He bit Damien's hand, hard. Damien yelped, his grip loosening for just a second, and Megan moved. She lunged forward, grabbing Luca and spinning away, clutching him to her chest. Roman fired. The bullet hit Damien's shoulder, spinning him around. He crashed to the ground, screaming, blood pooling beneath him. Don't kill him, Megan heard herself say. Roman paused, gun still aimed. What? Don't kill him. She looked at Damien, writhing on the cold floor. Death is too easy. Let him live. Let him remember every day that he lost. that a schoolteacher beat him, that his brother's nobody wife took everything from him. Damien stared at her, hatred and fear warring in his eyes. "You'll regret this," he spat. "No." Megan held Luca closer, feeling his heart beat against hers. "I won't remember it." The aftermath was chaos. Paramedics for Damien, who would survive, unfortunately. Police who were clearly on Moretti payroll asking no questions. Men carrying equipment, securing evidence, erasing traces. Megan sat in the back of an SUV, Luca finally asleep in her arms. He'd cried himself out, exhausted and traumatized but safe, alive. Roman appeared at the door, blood on his shirt that wasn't his. "He's being taken to a private facility," he said. "Maximum security. He'll spend the rest of his life in a cell reliving his failures just like you wanted." "Good." "Megan." He climbed into the SUV beside her, his hand finding her face. "What you did in there was stupid, was incredible." His voice cracked. "You walked into a nightmare without hesitation. You saved our son. You—" He stopped, overwhelmed. "I have never loved anyone the way I love you. You tell me that every day, apparently, and I mean it every time." She leaned into him, exhausted beyond measure. "I'm tired, Roman. I know. I'm going to forget all of this tomorrow, aren't I?" "Probably. Will you tell me? Every detail." He pressed a kiss to her hair. "I'll make a video. Show you how brave you were. How you walked into hell and came back with our son. Will you include the part where I screamed like a horror movie victim? I'll call it tactical vocalization." She laughed. "Tired, broken, beautiful. Roman." "Yes?" "Take us home." The house was quiet when they returned. Helena was awake, bandaged but alert, crying when she saw Lucas safe in Megan's arms. "I tried to stop them," she kept saying. "I tried." "You hit the panic button," Megan said softly. "You saved us all." Later, after Luca was bathed and fed and sleeping peacefully in his crib, Megan stood in the nursery, watching him breathe. Roman appeared behind her, arms wrapping around her waist. "I used to do this every night," he murmured, "before the accident. Just stand here and watch him sleep. Watch you watching him. That's slightly creepy. That's love, Red." She turned in his arms, looking up at him, at the exhaustion in his eyes, the relief, the overwhelming tenderness. "Roman? When I wake up tomorrow and I don't remember any of this," she swallowed, "will you still love me?" "Every morning," he promised. "Every afternoon. Every night. For the rest of my life. Even when I hit you with my elbow. Especially then." She smiled. "I think I understand now. Why I married you. Why I stay. Why? Because you're the kind of man who watches his son sleep. Who makes videos so his wife won't be afraid. Who burns down the world for the people he loves." She touched his face. "That's not a monster, Roman. That's a miracle." His eyes glistened. "Megan, take me to bed," she whispered. "Let me fall asleep in your arms. And tomorrow, when I wake up not knowing you, make me fall in love with you again. Always." He breathed. "Always." Megan woke up alone. The bed was cold on the other side, but before the panic could set in, she saw the tablet on the nightstand, already playing. Roman's face filled the screen. "Good morning, Red." Deep breath. "You're married to me. Roman Moretti, devastatingly handsome, slightly obsessive, completely in love with you. We have a son named Luca. You have memory issues. And yesterday, you were the bravest person I've ever known." He smiled, and something in his eyes was different today. Brighter. Lighter. "There's a new video in your folder. Watch it first. Trust me." The video ended. Megan, curiosity overriding confusion, opened the folder. The thumbnail showed her own face. "Hey, future me." On the screen, yesterday's Megan looked exhausted but radiant. She was sitting in what looked like a nursery, soft light glowing behind her. "So, today was insane. You probably won't believe any of this, but I need you to know what happened because it matters. It matters so much. Yesterday, Megan took a shaky breath. Our son was kidnapped. Roman's brother took him. And we walked into a warehouse full of armed men, unarmed and terrified, and we got him back. We saved our baby, Megan. We were brave." Tears were streaming down her past self's face now. "But that's not the important part. The important part is what we realized. We don't need our memories to be strong. We don't need to remember every moment to love the people in our life. Every day we wake up and we choose them. Every single day. And that's not a weakness, that's a superpower." She wiped her eyes, laughing softly. "So when you wake up tomorrow scared and confused, remember this. You are Megan Moretti. You are loved beyond measure. You have a husband who would burn down the world for you, and a son who thinks you hung the moon. And you? You walked through fire and came out standing. A pause. Also, Roman cries at Pixar movies, and there's video proof in the blackmail folder. You're welcome. The video ended. Megan sat in silence for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sound somewhere between joy and tears. Okay, past me, she whispered. I believe you. She found Roman in the kitchen, Luca in his high chair, both of them covered in what appeared to be oatmeal. Do I want to know? She asked from the doorway. Roman turned and his face lit up the way it apparently did every morning. He's learning to feed himself. It's a process. It looks like a crime scene. That's a fair assessment. Luca spotted her and immediately raised his oatmeal-covered hands, babbling excitedly. Mama, mama. Megan's heart stopped. Did he just... He's been doing it for a few weeks. Roman's voice was thick, but you should hear it for the first time. Every time. She crossed the kitchen and lifted Luca from the chair, oatmeal and all. He grabbed her face with sticky fingers, grinning his gummy grin. Mama, he said clearly. Yeah, baby, she whispered, tears falling. I'm your mama. After breakfast, and a bath for Luca, and a change of clothes for everyone, Roman led her to his office. There's something I need to show you, he said. The walls were covered with photographs, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, printed in color, arranged chronologically, each one labeled with dates and descriptions. Their first date at a coffee shop, their engagement in the bookstore, their wedding day, her pregnant belly at various stages, Luca as a newborn, first steps, first birthday, every moment of their life together preserved in images. I started this after the accident, Roman explained, so you could see our story, not just hear about it, so you'd know it was real. Megan walked slowly along the wall, touching the photographs with trembling fingers. There are so many. 3 years of memories. He came up behind her, arms wrapping around her waist. I add new ones every week. Helena helps me print them. She stopped at a recent photo. Herself, asleep in a hospital chair, Luca curled against her chest. When was this? Last month. Luca had an ear infection. You stayed up all night with him. Fell asleep around 4 in the morning. Roman's voice softened. I couldn't stop staring at you. Even exhausted, even worried, you were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Megan turned in his arms. You really do this every day, don't you? Wake up, explain everything, make me fall in love with you again? Every day for 8 months. And you never get tired of it? Megan. He cupped her face, those storm blue eyes intense. Falling in love with you is not a burden. It's the best part of my day. Every morning I get to watch you go from scared to curious to laughing to loving. I get to see the exact moment you decide I'm worth trusting. When is that moment? Different every time. Sometimes it's when you see Luca. Sometimes it's when Helena makes your coffee. Sometimes it's when I say something that makes you laugh. He smiled. Today, I think it was the oatmeal. You looked ridiculous. I looked like a devoted father. Those aren't mutually exclusive. He laughed, and it was beautiful. That afternoon, Megan made a decision. She found Roman's recording equipment and set it up in the nursery, Luca playing on the floor beside her. Hey, future me, she began. Then she talked, for an hour, about everything she'd learned, everything she'd felt, every moment of the day. I know you won't remember any of this, she finished. But I need you to know something. This life we have, it's not perfect. It's messy and scary and completely insane. But it's ours. And the man downstairs and the one with the neck tattoo and the Pixar tears, he's ours too. She looked at Luca, who was trying to eat his own foot. So tomorrow, when you wake up confused, don't be afraid. Just watch the videos, look at the photos, and trust yourself, because you've already chosen this life 100 times, 1,000 times, and every single time you chose right. She paused. Also, Roman snores. He'll deny it. There's audio proof in the evidence folder. Love you, future me, we've got this. That night after Luca was asleep, Roman found her on the balcony staring at the city lights. You made a video today, he said, joining her. How'd you know? You always look different after you record, like you figured something out. She leaned into him. I figured out that I'm lucky. Lucky? I get to fall in love with you every single day. I get to see our son with fresh eyes every morning. I get to experience the best moments of my life over and over again. She looked up at him. Most people only get one first kiss, one wedding day, one first time holding their baby. I get infinite. Roman's breath caught. Megan, I'm not saying it's not hard, it is. It's terrifying and exhausting, and sometimes I want to scream. She touched his face. But I would rather have one day of loving you than a lifetime of remembering someone else. He kissed her then, deep, consuming, a promise sealed in silence. I love you, he whispered against her lips. Every version of you. Every morning. Every day. Even when I hit you? Especially then. 1 year later, the nursery wall had a new addition. A photograph of Megan, Roman, and Luca at the beach, their first family vacation. Luca was laughing, waves at his feet, his parents kneeling beside him. Megan traced it with her finger, smiling. She didn't remember taking it, but she remembered the feeling, the joy, the love, the certainty that this was exactly where she belonged. Morning read. She turned. Roman stood in the doorway, coffee in hand, that devastating smile on his face. Morning, husband. His eyebrow arched. You remember? No, but the note on your pillow said, your husband is extremely handsome and makes excellent coffee. I put 2 and 2 together. He laughed, crossing to her. You wrote that note. Past me is very smart. Past you is very weird. That's why you love me. One of many reasons. He handed her the coffee. Dr. Vasquez called. She wants to discuss something. Dr. Vasquez was Megan's neurologist, a woman she met fresh every month but whose notes she trusted implicitly. Good news or bad news? She wouldn't say, but she sounded excited. The doctor's office was familiar in the way a dream is familiar. Megan knew she'd been here before, even if she couldn't remember it. Mrs. Moretti, Dr. Ring? Vasquez said, beaming. I have something to show you. She pulled up brain scans on her monitor, before and after images that meant nothing to Megan, but clearly meant something to Roman, whose hand tightened on hers. What am I looking at? Megan asked. Progress. The doctor pointed to an area of the scan. This is your hippocampus. Last year the damage was severe, but look at these recent scans. There's new neural pathway development. Your brain is healing. Megan's heart stuttered. What does that mean? It means we might be able to try something new, an experimental treatment that could help your brain form new memories again. It's not a guarantee, but for the first time, there's hope. Megan looked at Roman. His eyes were wet. Hope, he repeated. Hope, the doctor confirmed. Interested? They sat in the car for a long time after, neither speaking. Finally, Megan broke the silence. If it works, I'll remember. Yes, I'll remember tomorrow, and the day after. And the day after that? Yes. She turned to him, something flickering in her eyes. You won't get to make me fall in love with you anymore. Roman laughed, choked, emotional, beautiful. I think I can live with that. Are you sure? It's basically your whole thing. My thing is loving you, Megan. However that looks. He took her hand. If you remember, I'll spend every day making sure you never regret it. And if you don't, if the treatment doesn't work, I'll spend every day making you fall in love with me again. That sounds exhausting. That sounds like marriage. She kissed him. Slow, sweet, certain. Let's do it, she whispered. Let's try. Yeah? Yeah. She smiled. But Roman? Even if it works, keep making the videos. I like watching you be sappy. I am not sappy. There's a video of you crying at Coco that says otherwise. That movie is emotional, Megan. Sure, tough guy. 6 months later, Megan woke up. The bed was warm on the other side, and she remembered. She remembered yesterday, Luca's play date, Roman's terrible attempt at making pasta, the way they'd laughed until they cried when he set off the smoke alarm. She remembered last week in their anniversary dinner, the new photos for the wall, the whispered promises in the dark. She remembered last month, her first successful memory retention, the tears, the champagne, the way Roman had held her like she might disappear. She remembered everything. Hey, Red? Roman was awake beside her, watching her with an expression she knew by heart now. Hey, husband. Remember me today? Unfortunately, yes. He grinned. Still sharp. Still yours. She kissed him, and it was familiar now. Not new, not a first time, but something better. A continuation. A promise kept. A love that finally got to remember itself. The end.